if you've been with us for a while, you know that we love us some Stephen King. Not always.
No.
Sometimes he'd be shitting out turds like The Institute, which I want to burn in a pyre.
Yeah, homie.
And sometimes he'd be making some motherfucking classics like 11/22/63.
Classic.
We co-loved that one. And then, of course...
Not the movie, of course.
We haven't seen the movie yet. But then, of course, there's always the Stephen King adaptation, which people are like, man, it's a crapshoot, let me tell you. It's even a bigger crapshoot than the Stephen King novel, because Stephen King novels usually are pretty good. But the fucking movies, you know, holy moly. They could be all over the place, guy. But Stephen King has a son.
Yeah.
You know?
Gornak?
Some people are still finding that out still. But anyway, yeah, Gornak is one of them. But another one is Joe Hill. You know, and Joe Hill is also a writer. And he's actually carved a little niche for himself. In my opinion, Joe Hill's body of work right now is a far greater quality than his father's body of work out around the same time in their career. I think Joe Hill is an excellent writer, and he's also had much better luck with adaptations of his work so far. Granted, there aren't many, but they've been pretty decent. And now we have another one. It's called The Black Phone. And I gotta be honest with you, when I first heard The Black Phone was getting adapted, I was like, huh? Why? 20th Century Ghost is where The Black Phone comes from, and it's a short story collection, and one of the best, by the way. Lots of great meat to these stories. They're not just on the surface level stories. There's a lot of subtext to chew on. There's some really artsy stuff in here that really has a lot of substance. A lot of subversive stories in here. Really great collection. The Black Phone is the only story in this thing that I didn't like.
Oh, shit.
So, and it's not that the story is bad. It's just that the other stories are so good that the Black Phone, by comparison, is like, that's not as great as that. Because the Black Phone story doesn't have a lot of subtext, doesn't have a lot of substance. It's literally just kid gets kidnapped by potentially rapist, definitely serial killer guy.
It's definitely a diddler, right?
Oh, he diddles.
Yeah.
I mean, the implications here in the book are heavier than in the movie, but yeah, he's diddling, guy.
That's my first complaint, is that I wish the implications of diddling were a little heavier.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why.
I'm serious. I'm not. That wasn't even a joke.
Well,
like,
it would be a more disturbing character.
More disturbing, yeah.
I'll tell you why in the book I know that there was a suggestion of diddling is because in the book, the grabber, as he is called in the film here, the villainous grabber, is a fat guy.
Oh, he diddled.
So you know that typical of Stephen King, and I guess now his brethren,
what is that,
fat
man?
guys are disgusting bastards, which I
we
guess
are.
by default being fat, but you just get the feeling that this guy's gonna do something nasty before killing. But anyway, the Black Phone is just a very surface level story. It's literally this kid gets kidnapped by this bizarre fat guy that kind of like sets up the scenario where the kid, is offers help. Basically, he comes off as clumsy, offers help. He takes the kid to his home, and there's kind of like an on and off. Is he going to kill him? Is he not? Situation going for a while. But mostly it's this kid interacting with voices of the recently victimized, and I guess diddled in the book, victims of this killer, who are kind of like helping him to find a way out. Okay? And that's literally the story. At the end, he finds the way out. And that's it. It's a few pages. I forget how many, like 20. And there's really not much to it other than there's a suggestion that his sister has seen where the kid is. And there's a bond there. There's a dream bond there. And that's about it. There's touches of things here. So I say all that to say this. The movie is a perfect example of how to enhance something and make a great adaptation out of it. Now, whether you like it or not, if you read the story and you see the movie and you're interested in screenwriting, you're going to be like, wow, they did a fucking fantastic job of using a simple, basic foundation and adding meat, adding substance, adding character, and adding elements, building off the elements, not violating the story, but making it richer and making it more interesting and more full of characters and improving upon it. And it's for that reason I gotta give it its fucking laurels, because the movie.
What about its Hardys?
The Hardys come later. But right now I'm just giving laurels, okay? But I may be giving some shemps later.
Oh.
Maybe some fucking Chico Marxes in the
Damn,
mix.
homie.
But yeah, dude, I really was impressed with the screenwriting in this. Not only do I think it's a solid script on its own, but just in terms of adaptation, if you're a fan of like, or just a student of film, if you will,
History.
of history even, you can be pretty impressed by how well they managed to bring this to life in a completely different way, and yet leave the basis inviolate. So anyway, let's talk about the movie. Is it good? Is it bad? What's your first impressions here?
I liked it quite a bit, actually. This was one of those movies that I had very little interest in watching, not because it looked bad in any way, but I think because it looked good, and I knew that it was going to be good. And so it was kind of like...
That's weird.
It was kind of like not high in my priorities to be like confirm or deny, because I was like, I know it's going to be good.
You know, it's weird. I have that thing too. Sometimes I'll watch like 70 god-awful movies in a row because I know that they're probably going to suck, but what if they don't? I'd rather take the gamble than go to something that I know is going to be good.
That's kind of how I felt about it. I was kind of like, I know it's going to be good, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I really liked the girl.
Yeah, the kid actors in this are fucking great.
It's weird because she, again, well, this was another video, but she very much feels like she's just talking her lines, but she works really well.
Yeah.
And she's really likable.
She feels real.
Yeah.
You know, and so, yeah, the movie centers itself around basically the relationship of this brother and sister. And for lack of better words, let's use King terminology. They have something of the shine, if you will. You know, she can kind of see precognitive imagery, especially in dreams. And he clearly has something of that in him because he is the only one of the victims of the grabber here, the villain here, that the dead can communicate with. And they use the vehicle, the totem, if you will, of the black phone to communicate with him. Now, in the story, he only communicates basically with, if you see the movie, this Asian kid that he met in a game. And that's it. That's the kid that helps him, you know, tells him to pack the fucking phone with some sand and then you know, kick some ass because he's got a good arm, you know. That's it. This movie adds so much substance because we're introduced to the life of these characters before and the people they've come across and just people they've seen in their life, and they are part of the fabric of the life of this kid once he's kidnapped, and they add pieces to the puzzle that all contribute to him finally getting out, and it's so fucking satisfactory, you know. In honesty, this movie is very simple. You know, there's not a lot of hoo-ha around it, no intricate machinery, and that can be fun, don't get me wrong, but it's so simple, but it's so satisfactory because there are parts being put together, and they're all woven into the life and character of these kids, and it just fucking works magnificently. And also another thing that adds to that is the fact that our villain remains largely faceless, i.e. he's wearing a mask, something he doesn't do in the book, by the way, it's just a fat lard. But he still plays him kind of like in the book, almost like with this pathetic vibe and this sinister edge to him that he's kind of culling something out of the situation, but also that we know that there's something going on above ground in the life of this serial killer that's not allowing him to do. So almost the salvation of this character is not just because of these ghosts, these phantoms that are helping him get their revenge for themselves, but also helping them escape through their own built experiences in this room. But it's also the circumstance of he just happened to have a visitor over in his house.
Yeah, I gotta say, man.
His brother, Max. The killer has a brother named Max.
One of my complaints about the movie, I think the only one, is that Max can go straight to hell. He's annoying.
They actually gave him a lot more to do. He is in the novel.
Oh, yeah?
And much in the same way. When they first reveal Max, that part in the movie, it's not in the novel. And I was like, oh no, because they spoiled the moment, I thought. But man, they didn't. They just found a different way to go about it and still have the same scene where Max, you know, a spoiler, gets offed in the kind of comical way. And it still never lose the suspense of that sequence. And it's a different kind of suspense because he kind of builds into the final stretch of the movie. And it's a different kind of suspense, because you know that it's inevitable that this kid's going to get out. But you're just, by this point, the movie has built up these characters so well that that it's almost essential that he gets out, not because the villain's got to be beat or evil must be put in his place. No, but because there's something more important at stake here, and that's the relationship with these kids. And then ultimately the movie ties it in because the movie gives the kids the extra nail in the road, of their life by having their character be, their father be a drunkard.
Yeah, being beat by Balder.
Yeah, played by Balder himself.
No explanation.
No explanation. And that adds a little bit more because, first of all, it brings them together more as characters. And then it also gives that character a particular growth arc that feeds into their life improving after their experience. And and it's a super subplot, by the way, but it works so fucking well, and you feel so good for the characters because something is looking up, and it's just really good. As for people expecting an out horror thing,
yeah, I think the weaker parts for the movie for me are the ones where they kind of like there's a couple here little jump scares here and there, which are more they play into the story, like the corpses and shit jumping out. But I felt like they kind of felt like they had to put that in there a little bit. But they are effective, thankfully, and they don't take anything away from it. But yeah, it feels like a little bit like they were like, man, we gotta have some scares in this.
I don't even particularly feel that way about them. I think they were more for the atmosphere and the. Honestly, I think it works because you don't see that in the story. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I have that perspective of having read the story and not seeing that. You just hear voices, and I think on movies are visual storytelling.
I think the only one that came off that way to me, just to be clear, is the one with the floating kid that points because it's literally like a jump scare, you know. But the other ones I think work really well.
Yeah, I think the fact that they sewed their appearances into what the sister was seeing and building up that background, I think that was really substantial and essential. And it didn't feel not that you said this, but it didn't feel like a cheap jump scare.
Yeah.
But I thought it added to the improved fabric, visual tapestry of the fucking movie quite a bit.
I have seen some people be confused, and I don't know why, about why the freaking grabber freaks out when his mask comes off. And I'm like, this is some weird freaking serial killer.
Why does Leatherface freak out?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I thought. But I've seen that be thrown around so much. It's like, who gives a freaking rat's dick? In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly it says a lot about his psychology, and that's ultimately what we want in a serial killer character. There has to be some mystique and also some explanation to his psychology without going, this is why he does that, and there's almost like a shame in him once the mask comes off, and that says a lot, that there's elements in the way he interacts with these people that suggest that divide between right and wrong is pretty clear to him. And I think one of the biggest ones is that he ignores the phone. He is one of the few characters in this movie that can hear the phone, and he ignores it. So he's hiding his depravity from himself. And that mask is the only way, I think it's pretty obvious, explanatory in the fucking movie, and it adds a lot of substance to him. And honestly, I think it's pretty fucking great that they got a big name actor and they didn't feel the need to just show his face. They actually kept him behind the mask the whole time, and that they let the acting do the work. You know what I'm saying? And he plays him so close to the character here. Like there's this, I don't know, like seedy patheticness and like kind of like faux nicety to him that that you feel the griminess of his character. I loved it, man. So I don't get that mask thing. I mean, I don't get why they would be confused about it, but I guess be confused about Leatherface too. What? Anyway, but yeah, going back to what I was gonna say is, if you're expecting like a horror movie, like your standard, mainstream horror movie or whatever, it's not what you're getting. This is much more kind of like a drama with supernatural elements, and it's all the greater for it. It's really good, man. Scott Derrickson is one of those voices that thankfully is, as the years go by, is getting more and more credit for what he's done. Even people are going back to his, like Hellraiser Inferno, which everybody was shitting on, and they're like kind of reevaluating the strengths of it. You know, and that's cool, man. Sinister, of course, made an impact. You know, and he's been working with this guy that used to be a reviewer on Ain't It Cool News, and they've been doing work together, and this is one of those pieces, and I'm very impressed, man. I am very impressed with the stuff that they put out together, and Derrickson on himself alone, and then just kind of makes me wonder what his Doctor Strange 2 would have been like. Definitely better than the fucking garbage we got. I'm sorry, Sam Raimi, but shit. But anyway, score guy?
Yeah, a freaking 9.5.
Yeah, I think this is a pretty fucking great movie, man. Just rock solid performances. It has a real particular look that feels both nostalgic and seedy, and kind of like the movie that you would see on a dark, you know, gloomy, cloudy day, maybe in October. You know,
naked.
It takes you naked. Yeah, it takes you back to some place. I was very pleased, very surprised with it. So this one's one for the books. I give it a 9.5 as well. Check it out. Have you seen The Black Phone? If you haven't, go check that boy out. Okay. Anyway, we're out.